Level 1, the citizen. You have 6 minutes to live and you don't even know it. You're at the grocery store, you're sitting in traffic, you're putting your kids to bed. At this level, you have 0 power and 0 information. You are the target. The system is not built for warning you. By the time the sirens wail, the missiles are already halfway through their flight. You are the foundation of the pyramid, the billions of lives whose fate is about to be decided by a handful of people in rooms you'll never see. The people for whom the system was built to protect, but who are the first to be sacrificed when the gears start turning. Level 2, the missileer. 60 feet underground, the perspective shifts. You are no longer the target, you are the trigger. You are standing inside a concrete tomb known as a launch control center. Behind you is a 4-foot thick steel blast door that weighs 8 tons. If a war starts, that door stays shut. You are not coming home. You're in your mid-20s, a junior officer in the Air Force. You work in pairs, pulling 24-hour shifts in this windowless capsule. Your world is a console of switches, lights, and a heavy rotary dial telephone. Most of your career is defined by crushing, mind-numbing boredom. You run checklists, you verify system health, you perform drills that you have memorized so perfectly you could do them in your sleep. You spend your days waiting for a phone call that you pray never comes. You are the custodian of 10 Minuteman 3 missiles, each carrying a warhead with the power to vaporize a city. You live with that knowledge every day, but after a few months it becomes background noise, until the klaxon screams. In an instant, the boredom is incinerated. A message begins to crackle over the speakers. This is not a drill, this is an emergency action message. An EAM. Your training takes over. You and your partner grab a red thermos-style canister. Inside are the sealed authenticators. You break the seal. You pull out a card. You compare the codes on the card to the codes in the message. They match perfectly. Now the tension becomes a physical weight. You have no context. You don't know if a city has been hit. You don't know if a war has started. You don't know if your family's still alive. The system is designed this way. Level 3, the submarine crew. You're 1,000 feet under the ocean on a ballistic missile submarine, what the Navy calls a boomer. You've been underwater for 2 months. You haven't seen the sun. You haven't breathed fresh air, and you haven't heard from your family since you left the dock. You're the ultimate insurance policy. While the silos in the Midwest are fixed targets and sitting ducks that the enemy has already mapped out, you are a ghost. Even if a surprise attack wipes out every silo in the country before they can turn their keys, you're still out there. You are the guarantee of the mutual assured destruction. You're packed into a tube filled with 24 Trident II missiles. Each one of those missiles carries multiple warheads. Just one sub has enough firepower to end an entire continent. Underwater, you're totally isolated. If a launch order comes through, you don't have a news feed to check. You don't have a way to call home. For all you know, the world above the waves is already on fire. When that message hits the comms room, the whole vibe of the boat shifts. The captain, the executive officer, and several other crew members all have to verify the codes. You have to trust the system. You have to trust that the person who sent that message had a good reason. And you have to do it all while knowing that your own life and the lives of everyone you love might already be over. Level 4, the 2-man rule. The whole foundation of nuclear security rests on one simple, brutal idea. No one person can ever start a war. It doesn't matter if you're a general, a war hero, or the most trusted person in the military. The system doesn't trust you. It doesn't trust anyone. You have 2 keys and 2 locks. They're spaced so far apart that it's physically impossible for one person to reach both. You have to turn them at the exact same time, in perfect unison. Sounds like a perfect safeguard, right? But think about the human side of that. This rule turns your partner into your shadow and your monitor. If one of you hesitates, the world keeps spinning. If one of you says no, the chain breaks. The entire weight of the apocalypse rests on 2 people looking each other in the eye and agreeing to do the unthinkable. But what happens if your partner loses their mind? What if they decide they can't live with the guilt? The system is built for speed and obedience, but it still relies on the messy, unpredictable nature of human conscience. This is a vulnerability, and it's already happened. During the Cuban Missile Crisis in 1962, the world almost ended because of a single Soviet submarine. The sub was being pounded by U.S. depth charges. They were deep, they were losing oxygen, and they were cut off from Moscow. The captain and the political officer were convinced World War III had already started. They wanted to launch a nuclear torpedo. According to their rules, they needed 3 officers to agree. 2 of them said yes. The third man, Vasily Arkhipov, was the only one who kept his cool. He argued with the captain, stood his ground, and refused to authorize the launch. He single-handedly broke the chain. Because he said no, the torpedo stayed in the tube, and you're alive today to watch this video. Level 5, the War Room, the nerve center of the Pentagon. This is the National Military Command Center. This is the filter of the apocalypse. High-definition screens, encrypted data streams, and the highest-ranking generals in the country. You are the one who sees the incoming threats on your screen, and the one who alerts the president. You use 2 different types of sensors to confirm a threat before you even consider a launch. If you misread a flock of geese for a missile salvo, the president makes his decision based on a lie. Once the president gives the order, you are the translator, the only one with the power to turn the president's voice into the radio code that the silos and subs are waiting for. Level 6, the football carrier. You're a military aide, a top-tier officer, who is never more than a few feet away from the commander-in-chief. You're carrying a 45-pound black lead leather briefcase. Everyone calls it the football. Inside is something that looks more like a terrifying room service menu. A book of pre-selected war plans, the Black Book, a list of secure bunkers, and a radio to reach the Pentagon. You don't have off days. You go to the bathroom when the president goes. You're at the front of the plane and the back of the motorcade. You're a living, breathing single point of failure. If you trip, if you're separated from the president for even 60 seconds, the entire deterrent system of the United States is effectively offline. You're the shadow that carries the weight of the world on one shoulder. Your job is to ensure the decision can be made at any second in any location without hesitation. Level 7, the Secretary of Defense. The president gives the order, but you are the one who has to verify it and pass it to the military. This creates a massive legal and moral gray area. Do you have the right to say no? Technically, you don't have veto power over a legal order. But what if you think the order is insane or based on totally wrong info? You're the person who has to look at the president and decide if the order is coming from a sound mind or a desperate one. Level 8, the Designated Survivor. Imagine a strike hits Washington, D.C. during the State of the Union. The president, the vice president, the cabinet, the entire line of succession is gone in a single heartbeat. This is where you come in. You are a member of the cabinet and are always hidden away in a secure, undisclosed location during major government events. You are the backup for the apocalypse. You sit in a bunker, surrounded by Secret Service and military aides, watching the news. But if the screen goes dark, you are the one who inherits the keys. You go from being a low-level cabinet member to the commander-in-chief of a nation in ruins. Your job is to ensure that even if the head is cut off, the body can still strike back. You're the ultimate testament to the system's obsession with continuity. A person whose entire purpose is to be the last one standing to give the final order. Level 9, the President. You've reached the top of the pyramid. The Secretary of Defense is on the line, the war room is waiting, and the military aide has the briefcase open. This is the moment Hollywood loves, but always gets wrong. The President doesn't need a committee. There's no vote in Congress, and there's no Supreme Court appeal to stop this. According to the law, the authority to use nuclear weapons is sole. That means one person, and one person only, holds the power to end the world as we know it. You reach into your pocket and pull out a small laminated plastic card. In DC, they call it the biscuit. It looks like a credit card, but it's the most dangerous object on the planet. You snap the plastic open to reveal a set of codes. You read these codes to the war room to prove you are who you say you are, then you pick an option. It could be a limited strike on a few military bases, or it could be major attack option 1, the total destruction of every enemy city, military hub, and industrial center. Choice is made and the words are spoken, the machine takes over. There's no "are you sure" prompt, no cancel button. The order is flashed to the silos and the submarines in seconds. 6 minutes. In the time it took you to watch this video, the decision has been made, the keys have been turned, and the missiles are already in space. They're traveling at 4 miles per second. Within 30 minutes, they'll reach the other side of the planet. Level 10, the aftermath. Once that 6-minute window closes, it's over. Trillions of dollars have been spent making sure this process is flawless, fast, and final. A single modern W-88 warhead, the kind sitting on a Trident missile, has a yield of about 455 kilotons. To put that in perspective, the bomb dropped on Hiroshima was about 15 kilotons. If one of these hits a city like New York or London, the center of the explosion is hotter than the surface of the sun. Everything in the immediate radius is simply vaporized. The shockwave levels steel reinforced buildings for miles. The heat pulse causes third-degree burns to anyone standing outside 10 miles away. The system was built for a world that looked a lot different than the one we live in today. Maybe it's time to ask if we're still comfortable with that 6-minute clock, because once it hits 0, there's no coming back. What would you do in those 6 minutes?